Hello and thanks for clicking on this video. I want to talk about two dramas at the same time. And the reason I want to talk about these two dramas at the same time is because both of these dramas were actually super close to being like 10 out of 10 stars for me, like a perfect watch drama, which is extremely rare for me. Like extremely rare for me to get a drama that's like perfect. They were so close. Both of them were so close. The two dramas I'm talking about are, of course, Blossom and Ashes to Crown. And yes, I'm late to the game with Blossom because it was released at the end of 2024, so it's already like a year and a half old. Ashes to Crown was just released very recently. I did not watch it while it was coming out because sometimes I just can't help myself and I have to start a drama and I have to watch it while it's coming out. Other times I'm like, I don't care how much I want to watch this drama. I am waiting because watching dramas while they come out is extremely frustrating. These two dramas, in Blossom, your main characters are Zhou and Mo. And I honestly, I was distracted while watching this drama, but at the same time, I really honestly cannot remember when or why all of a sudden both of those characters ended up with a second name. So there was like at one point where they were talking about a shogu. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong. And I'm like, who the heck is that? And it took me a second in context of what they were talking about before I realized that's Zhou. Oh, right. I did not remember she had two names. Since when does she have two names? Where did that second name come from? Mo, I know he had I think it's pronounced Yintang, even though it's spelled Y-A-N. She was always saying it Yintang. Him, I remember her calling him that quite frequently, but I don't remember since when. So, whatever, Zhou and Mo, they're the main characters of Blossom. And the main characters of Ashes to Crown are Xu Zhao and Aju is the easiest name to use. Zhou, I know why he's got two names. That one makes sense. I never got lost on that one. It made sense. And yes, he's called both of those names frequently, like all of the time, so it makes sense. My drama list, for once, they're having two names, and it's a good reason. Yeah. This is when you should be listing more than one name for someone. In these two instances, this is when you should be using more than one name, because you actually hear these names frequently throughout the entire thing. You hear both of the names and all the rest of this stuff. So, yeah. Yeah. Both of these dramas, the biggest things I absolutely loved, like, you know me, what's my opinion of the main girl usually? In both of these dramas, I really liked the girl. Xu Zhao and Zhou Zhao. Zhao, they're both Zhao. I really liked both of these girls. Like, I really did through the entire drama. Both of them. I really liked these girls. There was never a point when I hated either one of them. Zhou in Blossom. There was a point where I was getting frustrated with her because honestly, like the thing with her breaking off that one marriage, she was bound and determined to do it herself and all of the rest of this stuff. And I get her reasoning why. And actually, I have some honest respect for her. That's one of the reasons why I really liked her and respected her as a character and stuff, is because she went about this whole thing, her second life. Just a second. I got sidetracked and I don't want to forget to say this, so let me finish and then I'll back up. She did not want to harm other people in the process. She was being very careful to have other people live their life and give them a chance to have a good life and all of that stuff without her messing it up. So in order to fix her problem, she wasn't willing to mess up somebody else's life. And I'm like, that is really cool. And I have a lot of respect for her for that. And it was awesome. And it was like, it was just really cool. So she's going about this breaking off the marriage in a very carefully and very slowly in order to make sure that nobody else got harmed in the process. And which is one of the points when she had a big fight with Jiang. And I'm going to get back to Jiang. She had a big fight with him over it because he harmed other people in the process in order to help Zhou Zhao, and she was so angry at him for that. And I hope I remember to bring that back up again because the way that was handled. Sorry, this is a little all over the place. I'm talking fast because there's so much. And I didn't write a script even though I probably should have. But even writing a script, I'd probably forget a bunch of this because they're just so good. And there's so many things about them that were so amazing. And what I'm always saying, this is what the dramas need. And why don't more dramas have this? Well, both of these dramas had it. And it was so refreshing and so cool. I loved it. But Dou Zhao, the one thing about the marriage is that she did it so slowly and she just kept dragging it on. And I'm like, I feel like she's going way too far with this. Like, really? She could have got some other help. She didn't need to go this far with it. She just, basically, her dealing with it was pretty much just putting it off and 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 delaying it 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 before she did it. Like, she was right on the very brink. Right on the very brink, because she just kept delaying it and putting it off instead of actually dealing with it. She kept claiming that she's dealing with it, but she wasn't doing anything. She was just putting it off. And I'm like, now I'm starting to get a little annoyed at you because you're going on with this too long. You could have dealt with this sooner and in just as good of a way. So, like, you're starting to act like a victim here because, oh, no matter how hard I fight fate, is it gonna come true anyway? I'm like, well, maybe if you actually do something like you claim you're doing. But anyway, I was a little annoyed with her with that, and I think there was something else. I don't know. I don't have much time to film right now. Maybe later on I'll find that note to find out what it was. But for the most part, like, really. And I think one of the biggest things that Xu Zhao from Ashes to Crown, one of the biggest reasons that I really liked her and her character was the fact that, like, it showed that part of her wanted this revenge, and part of her wanted to go through this whole, like, it doesn't matter, I'll even die to get this revenge because it's such a big deal, that blah, blah, blah. But the other part of her is like, no, that isn't right. That's wrong. No matter how much I want it, I have to go about this the right way. I can't just go on a killing spree or whatever. I can't do it that way. There's so much more than I want. I don't just want to survive. I don't want to just right this wrong. I also want the wrong righted so that I can have a good future, because I want to keep living. I want to have a good life and all of this stuff. So it was really interesting to go through all of that. So yeah, back up just a bit. Both of these stories are similar too in the fact that both of them, they lived a certain amount of time, and like they lived up to this point and then they died, or they were on the brink of death and they got sent back a few years to relive a certain amount of time. The one thing that really bothers me, it makes me really, really irritated, is that both of these are called reincarnation stories. Even within the drama, they're using language like, this is a reincarnation. I'm like, no, it is not. Never once in my entire life have I heard that as the description of reincarnation. They literally just went back in time. That is all they did. They went back in time. Basically, like, their consciousness, because, in Blossom, she could only sort of, that was one thing that was a little bit annoying. They were kind of a little bit vague about, they weren't really explicit enough about what it is that she could remember and what she couldn't remember. It was like she had these, a couple of things were super sharp in her mind, but most things were kind of just vague and blurry. And I'm like, which is it? Because it's like, it's this weird book that's actually telling her this stuff. So I'm like, okay, so she doesn't remember that stuff happening? This book is just, or did she not know it to begin with, and that was just filling in blanks that she never did know? Like, it was kind of confusing what she did know, what she remembered, and what she didn't remember. It was a little more like with Song Mo. The description for Blossom is terrible, by the way. Song Mo does not share her secret about coming back from the future. He does not. He thinks of this as a dream. It's just this one little snippet of this girl that I've got to find because she's the one that's guiding my life, etc. That's all he remembers. He doesn't remember anything else. He doesn't know. He himself doesn't even know that he came back from this future, and he definitely has no clue that she came back from the future. He's confused throughout the entire drama why she's so smart and knows all of this kind of stuff and whatnot. He does not know. That is a horrendous description. The description on my drama list is a horrendous description of this drama. It really is. But yes, even when it comes to Jiyoung, it's confusing about who remembers what about the first time through all of this kind of stuff. Even with Dou Zhao, it's a little, I wish they'd been a little less vague on that, because that was a little confusing. Ashes to Crown, she also came back. She went back 3 years from the future, and she's the only one that came back 3 years from the future, and she definitely remembers everything that happens. And there's no question, she definitely remembers everything that happens and exactly what happens. It's very explicit about which things she knows and all that kind of stuff. It did a better job of being much more clear about who knows what and all of this kind of stuff. So that's what both of them are like. That's not reincarnation. Like, since when? I know that reincarnation, that's one of the things that drives me nuts about it, depending which religion and depending what person. Everybody has their own version of what reincarnation is. Like, I've been explicitly told that by people who believe reincarnation, multiple people who believe or used to believe in reincarnation have told me that basically every single person just picks and chooses what about it they want to believe. It's one of the most vague and twisted around, manipulated to suit the person that believes in it things I have ever heard of. And that's them telling me that, not just me making this up. So I'm not being biased. That's what they told me. And I can see it because every one of these stories that talks about reincarnation, some of them are the same, and other ones I'm like, you are just, this story is the only one that thinks that. In both of these cases, like, I've never, until these stories, heard of somebody calling it reincarnation. Not these ones. I think maybe there has been a couple other ones. That is just going back in time, okay? That's way more straightforward, way more obvious, way more whatever. Like I said, it was the, what do you call it? Parallel worlds that erased good old regular old time travel stories. Well, now apparently reincarnation is erasing time travel. What is so bad about just having time travel stories? They were all the rage at one point, and now it's like the worst crime you could possibly commit to just have a regular old time travel story. These are just time travel stories. It's not a reincarnation. If you're literally here and you just back up 3 years, that's not reincarnation. You just time traveled back. So, I have like a whole bunch that's like really weird. It's been already 14 minutes and I've been talking really fast because I've just got so many thoughts on my brain. But, and then there's Jiang, and I want to talk about Jiang because I adore this character. Oh my gosh. There is absolutely no doubt left in my mind right now. Xia Zhi Guang, at least within the Chinese actors and actresses and whatnot. Yeah, I have a top 5 and he's in it. But okay, I'm going to continue filming at another point, so if the rest of this video I look different, that's why. At least I got that much off my chest. This is an introduction, even though it's already been 15 minutes. But remember, I'm talking about 2 different dramas, so you know, we'll see how well I can organize this and get through this. So, bye for the moment. I hope you stick around and watch the rest of it too. Okay, it has been days, way longer than I even expected, between when I filmed that first opening thing and now. I wrote a script. I don't know if I like the script at all. I would dearly love to know why it's so hard for me to explain why I love stuff. It's like easy to explain why I'm mad or why I don't like stuff, although it usually comes out rambling. I don't know if people understand me when I say it, but like, it's easier for me to talk about the stuff when I don't like it. But when I absolutely love something and I'm trying to explain why I love it, it is so hard to explain. So these videos just always end up being super rambly and super, it feels messy. So I don't know if you'll enjoy this at all, but I'm trying, okay? I really am. I wrote a script, so let's read the script. It's much longer than I expected, so I'll try to continue to go fast. I watched Blossom from July 1st to July 9th, and I watched Ashes to Crown from July 13th to July 16th, and it's taking me this long to come and tell you about it. What I absolutely loved that was the same in both of them, the main couple and how they treated each other. Oh my gosh. The arc of how the relationships were built, what it started as and how it grew to become what it became by the end of the story, as well as how they treated each other each step of the way and why they treated each other like that. As I already said, I liked both of the girls. If you know me, you know that's weird. Not so surprising is that I also loved both of the guys, but I swear these two were also a little different. In my opinion, both of them were complex characters that had specific things happening in their past and present, which, combined with their personalities, led them to make the choices they made, and most importantly, they stuck to that. Like real humans in real life, that is really good character writing. It's possible, because I haven't seen these actors act in anything else, really. It's possible that also played a role because I had no character baggage from other roles carrying over to this one. So they felt a little more unique because I'd never seen these guys in their quirks before. It's possible, but I don't think that was a big, like, it really was these characters, and especially Zhou. I think I liked him even more than Song Mo. Like, Zhou was a fascinating character to me. I really, really liked that guy for so many reasons. One of them being, like, his total unassuming, like, both of them, Song Mo and him, they were both so much more humble than a lot of the guys were. And I don't mean they were fangless. And it's not like they weren't real men or anything like that. Like, my gosh, these two were tough. And Zhou especially. Wow, was he ever a tough, scrappy guy. Like, oh my gosh, everything he's been through in life and everything he's done. And it was fascinating that, like, they explain the reasons why he does some of this stuff, and it makes sense. His whole personality and what he's been through and what he's trying to do and what he wants, but at the same time, like, it's just so complex and so fascinating, and it was so well done. I absolutely love Aju. And I really loved Song Mo too. And the girls that they end up with, like, those girls were the perfect one for them. They were such good couples. They, like, complemented each other and built each other up in a way, like, they were like, oh, I love these couples. In both cases, all of it was done so well and for good reasons. This is the exact opposite of what I call the forced romance dramas that I hate. See my Hold a Court Now video for an example of what I mean by a forced romance drama. And really, even though both of these dramas, both of the couples, even though they were both sort of a slow burn romance drama, they also weren't. Because a slow burn romance drama usually includes all of these random burn with passion scenes that are, like, just supposed to satisfy us or something, because we're all waiting for the characters to stop hating each other so the romance can be a romance drama. You know what I mean, right? You know what I mean? You gotta know what I mean. If you've seen very many of these, you know what I mean. These ones were not like that. This is another truth about both of these stories that made them super good that I already touched on. They didn't have any characters randomly doing things that simply didn't make sense for them to be doing. They had strong stories and all around strong characters, at least Blossom did, and they stayed on track, and the foundations remain intact and strong the whole way through. The whole way each couple met each other and stuff, the background story, it was unique. Both of them were unique, and there was nothing petty. There was nothing quick about the turnarounds either. There were solid reasons and well-built ladders, like I said, that took us places that made sense, and there was never a point where they said that they trusted each other and immediately didn't act like it. It was so good. It was so good. All of it was so good. The relationship building and it was so good. In Ashes to Crown, I made a short that explains what happened. The real misunderstanding. After saying that, I was frustrated because the whole used way too often trope of the misunderstanding, everything that was happening there, he points to 3 cultural aspects that are extremely unhealthy. Their obsession with owing people, their obsession with being filial, and their obsession with revenge. I'm trying to make this less messy, so I won't go all into what I mean by all of that. But the point that I do have to point out is that near the beginning of the show, Chu Zhao told the crowd of people beating Aju to death that according to the law, which she was standing by, a crowd lynching someone without a trial is the same thing as murder. Yet what? Did she think asking him here one question that nobody else was there to hear, so there was no witnesses, there was no confirmation, there was no evidence, there was nothing. Just one question that he did not answer, and she thinks this counts as a trial or something? So it's okay for her to kill him on the spot? Like, this doesn't make any sense, girl. This doesn't make any sense. Look at what you did back there with the crowd, and look at what you're doing right now. Where's the difference? Why is it okay for you to be doing this when it wasn't okay for them to be doing that? However, this whole scenario was slightly different than the normal, and part of what proves that is not only the moments here, but it's also the aftermath. Because right after it happens, there isn't a long drawn out weeks or months or episodes upon episodes of these two avoiding each other so they can wallow in their self-pity and torment, or of them running into each other and her scorning him while he begs for forgiveness, or etc., that all the usual stuff happens. You know what I mean. Come on. You admit it. You know what I mean. Instead, right after this scene happens, Chu Zhao now hates Aju, and yet she's mature enough to know she still needs his help in the coming battle. And so she includes him, and she does it wisely, and nobody gets hurt in the fallout of her or him being emotionally unstable. It's like a proper separation of personal feelings and professionals happening here. Like, this is professionally has to happen and lives are on the line, so we're going to be acting like a mature adults here and handle this in the way we need to handle it while putting our emotions aside. Following after that, when other people bring the truth to light, which they do almost immediately, and here's a key point, because they know Aju. They know the truth about the situation, and they know his character. And regardless of whether it's my business to get in the middle of the relationship or whatever, that's not even the point. That's usually what stops them somehow. They're like, oh, is it really my business to say anything? I don't know. I went, whatever. You know what I mean? Again, you know what I mean. Slandering is wrong, and it's slander to let her keep thinking that someone like Zhou would ever do what she believes he did. So they bring her evidence, and she doesn't immediately reject the whole thing or throw a hissy fit, or just sweep it all under the carpet with the whole, oh, thank goodness I can finally forgive him. This whole holding a grudge was so hard on me, making me the real victim. Again, you know what I'm talking about. You have to know what I'm talking about. It's in all these dramas. Again, instead, she looks into it, and then when she hears what Zhou is currently doing out of guilt, because in his own emotional state of grief right now, he does feel guilty about this, even though he really shouldn't. There were legitimate things he had no clue about, and he wouldn't have done what he did if he knew. And Xu Zhao goes out to deal with what's happening in such an epic way. I was close to crying, okay? I'm being a little vague right now on this because I'm not trying not to spoil it, because you just gotta see it for yourself. But, oh my gosh. Bringing his character, his complex character to light, so that everybody can see this guy that refuses to talk about himself and what he's really been through. And there's more, because following that, like I said, there's no sweeping it under the carpet like she never did anything wrong, because she did do something wrong. She had reasons, but the reasons don't always justify stuff. They're reasons. There are still things you shouldn't be doing, and she did also do something wrong. So it's not like things got swept under the carpet. We all pretended like she was the victim all along and she couldn't help it and it's all his fault and whatever. There is a scene where Xu Zhao goes to talk with Zhou, and she explains why she reacted the way she did, and she's right about it. Like, she's mature enough to understand what she did, and she knows why it's wrong. She explains it with an attitude of knowing full well that it doesn't justify what she did, i.e., this whole scene, the problem is directly addressed and directly dealt with, and after that is when it's put to rest, and we never see it come back again, because we don't need to see it come back again, because they actually dealt with it. It's not like it keeps coming back, like they actually are holding a grudge even though they supposedly forgave each other or something, and there's no other scenes that continue to snowball off it and make things even worse because they deal with it. It's completely dealt with, and both characters heal and grow as individuals and in their relationship, and it's so epic, and I loved every moment of it. I love these characters in both Blossom and Ashes to Crown. I love the main characters. I adore these couples. I love the story developments. And I even love several other characters, at least in Blossom. Dou and her cousin and best friend, the three sisters, they have such a close relationship, are adorable together. There isn't even any forced relationship among these three. It felt genuine and real and natural, and it was so cute. Ashes to Crown, unfortunately, overall, as much as I adore the two main characters, other characters, we'll get back to that. Two other things about Blossom specifically that I very much appreciated were the outside help versus the inside desires, and Young. Shoot, this is awkward and I've got like lots of noise going on, but I have to add, I totally forgot to mention, in Blossom, one of the rare things about Blossom that actually makes it awesome is the Emperor. He was actually a good Emperor. Like, once you reach the end of the drama, for once, thank you. But first, so that I can get it over with, what made both of these dramas lose stars? An example in Blossom, I just want to bring this up because it frustrates me. What happened was, okay, this one is more of a spoiler, so if you don't want to hear this, I'll put a spoiler thing up there. Dou and Sangmo do get married. Way sooner than I expected them to in these kinds of dramas. Usually they don't get to get married until the very last episode or something, but they do get married sooner than I expected them to. And a key factor is that they get married because they love each other. It's true Dou is awkward when it comes to relationships because she was burned so badly her first time through life, and she never really intended to get married this time around because she wanted to be the strong individual by herself, woman and whatever. But still, they get married because they love each other, and that was well established before they got married. That is the only reason she got married, is because she loves him. However, the wedding night gets entirely interrupted. One, by her awkwardness, and two, more importantly, by a drunk fixated on the 1%. Dou cousin says, I'm 99% happy for you, but I confess there's a 1% of me that's jealous, or sad, or unhappy, or whatever. I forget the exact word she used. Fair enough. Good for you for being honest. Yes, that's all good and fine. But girl, that 1% of you is so strong, it gets drunk and comes over to hang all over the bride and literally steal the bed along with the bride for the whole night. So the bride's brand new husband can't even sleep in the same room as his brand new bride, let alone do what he wants to do with her and has a right to do with her because they are now married and they love each other and they want a private moment together. You crashed it with your 1% of jealousy. And honestly, how am I supposed to feel about this insanely overused trope? Tell me, legit, how am I supposed to react to this? Am I supposed to find this funny? Am I supposed to find this cute? This trope is not funny to me. I don't know why it's used as often as it's used. As if we haven't already had to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait before the couple finally gets to get married, even after they get married. What is this? You think we're gonna get bored now that they're happy and stable? So you have to throw these awkward, weird, comical whatever in there? What is this? The drama constantly comes up with all kinds of reasons and excuses why the couple can't be left alone to be a couple. And by the way, this is one point I can think of where I actually did get mad at Zhou. Your reputation is going to be spoiled because people think you slept with your husband? What? Okay, right there, yes, I was mad at her. Revenge, making him drink that soup. For crying out loud, you messed up freak. He's your freaking husband that you married because you love him. And he absolutely had no clue that the idiot servants that have no life and no respect and no sense of privacy were going to run off on assumptions to gossip so far and wide the whole city is talking about it. What is wrong with all you people? My word, none of you have a life. However, Song Mo brings this up. Of course, like always, he brought it up to people that were not helpful in the slightest. The supposed reasons is that they aren't married, so of course they can't understand, which is ridiculous. You don't need to be married to know someone is going to be upset that their spouse isn't being intimate with them. It's a no-duh given. There is nothing awkward or weird about that, and that's my point. But also, I think maybe these two didn't realize that Song Mo what he actually meant, because they, like everyone else, probably thought these two were living like a normal married couple, because why wouldn't they be? They're married! That's what you're supposed to do with your spouse! The weird part of this whole thing that made it different was how it was dealt with. I don't know if Song Mo meant for Zhou to actually get drunk, but she did. And he's like, well, this isn't right since you're drunk, which is true, even if it's your spouse. But then the drunk does the typical, I'm not drunk. And since he fair and squarely wants this to happen so much, he just go ahead and believe her. I can't believe that's how they actually end up doing this for the first time. And I also can't believe the story didn't do what these stories typically do and have her realize the next day or a couple days later and be furious at him and cause a big fight over it. Instead, she says she can't remember. And it seems like she really can't. And from what I see, she never does. So that was weird. Like, really weird. That's very different and very odd. It happened. And yet it scrolled on past like it didn't. And from then on, they're a totally normal married couple. Huh? It started dragging. In my opinion, it was, quite frankly, getting annoying. But even more so, I was bored. They started spending so much time with the bad guys, but also with people I just didn't care about. Episodes 20 through 23 in particular, I wrote a note. Oh, ugh. But the reason Blossom is a little different from Ashes to Crown in this department is because some of the people they spent time with, it really was just me not caring. I didn't like them as much. I wanted to spend time with Zhou and Song Mo, my loves. I want to see them together now that they are finally together. But now we have to go over there and watch all these other people's lives get screwed up or whatever. And the one thing that made me mad was how much time we spent with people that did not change, but more so than them not changing, which I'm going to get back to in the good points of the story, is the fact that one character, at least, it felt like the story was trying to make me feel sorry for him somehow. They made it abundantly clear he was a bad guy, as in he is scum. He is scum that sort of kind of grew a backbone for a little bit, but ultimately remained scum. And yet, for some reason, I felt like the story was trying to make me feel sorry for him. And let me make it clear, I didn't. For the girl he married, yes, because that was different. For him, no. Therefore, I did not have any interest whatsoever in watching any part of that story that involved just them. No, go away. Stop wasting my time. I was entirely skipping, not just fast watching a bunch of scenes and stuff, because I don't care. I am not interested. But I'll go back to the related topic on this in a second. First, Ashes to Crown. And before I explain what made me so angry at that one that I ended up writing, I am so sick of this and I am hating this more than once while watching the second half of it. Let me start by mentioning the things that I easily could have and pretty much was overlooking and forgetting about entirely, in light of how amazing and epic other parts were. So, in other words, like, these are lesser things, but at the same time, they were things that I noticed that were like, okay, hold on. One, the in-your-face YA aspect of this story, i.e. the fact just about everyone was too young. Like, just about every one of them needed at least 5 years added onto their age before it would have made any sense to me. That emperor, absolutely nobody can convince me that a 6 to 7 year old would be that wise or mature. Him, I wasn't forgetting or overlooking no matter what. He was pure and simple too young, and it bothered me the entire time. And then they awkwardly started skipping weird years, so it was like he was 6 to 7, but then all of a sudden, next thing I know, he's supposed to be 12 or something, and then he's supposed to be even older. I'm like, wait, what? What is with this all of a sudden just randomly skipping time and not telling me how much time we're skipping? 2, there were way too many haha, just kidding moments. I.e. those moments where you think one side is winning, but it turns out the other side actually had a trap and it's them that's actually winning. And they carried you on for at least half an episode before they revealed the truth. Those moments are cool, but not so much after the 10th time in 9 episodes or whatever it was. There were way too many of those moments. 3, the insanely bizarre and never once explained imaginary friend, who was also a child. And speaking of never explained, and children, the children shown at the end of the drama. Who the crap were these people? 4, along similar veins, the things that, for lack of better wording, simply did not jive. There were so many of those random little moments that I forget most of them, but one example was when they were preparing for a battle at one point, and she's like, you go here, and you go there. Next scene, all of them are here. Next scene, he's over there, and so is she. And oh, by the way, he is now over here. Huh? I was... 5, the whole trope of the bad guy turning super creepy, because instead of saving himself a lot of trouble and killing his opponent at the point when he really should have, or just putting his ultimate plan into action sooner or something or whatever, point is, he ultimately goes, she's different. Just different. Because he's some kind of genius that is bored and needs a worthy foe or something. Like all weirdo chess-obsessed people in the Asian dramas. And by the way, she isn't just a foe. She's such a worthy enemy. She's pretty much a friend. Which is also how I felt like she's starting to see all the bad guys. And it really was starting to drive me insane. Like, you get so comfortable with your enemy. They're like the most worthy opponent ever, and you miss them when they're gone. And it's like, this is the highlight of your life, is intellectually challenging each other, and they blur the lines so weirdly when they end up doing this. And it just... ugh! Especially when you combine this with what basically destroyed the second half of the story for me. Let me show you in picture format so it makes sense. This right here is what my drama list claims about Ashes to Crown. The 2 MC and the support characters. I'm here to report the truth. This is the real MC versus support for the first half of the drama. And then, here you go, the downhill slide started, and this right here is what we ended up with. And as if this wouldn't have been infuriating enough if these other people were good guys, Because I don't freaking care about you. You're supposedly support characters. Why are you dominating the screen? It's worse than that because they are not good guys. They're bad guys. And they absolutely 100% dominated the screen. Again, let me show you, because I wanted to prove I was not just exaggerating, and I timed it for one episode. In that one episode, which I forget which one it is, in that one episode, we saw Chu Zhao and Zhou alone for about 2.5 minutes. Next up, we saw Chu Zhao and Zhou with bad guys for about 9 minutes. And that leaves how many minutes of a roughly 40-minute episode after removing the opening and closing credits that we spent with bad guys talking with other bad guys or with support characters? Yeah. 29 minutes. 29 minutes of the bad guys absolutely dominating the screen. And if you add that 9 minutes in there, where even though the two main characters were also on screen, they were talking to bad guys, that makes it, what is 29 plus 9? 38 minutes. 38 minutes out of 40 minutes we spent with the bad guys dominating the screen. And all I want to know is why. Why has the world become so obsessed with telling the stories through the eyes of the bad guys? Why? Because that is what this is. There were literally times in this story where I found out what the good guys, the supposed MCs of this story, were doing because the bad guys told me what they were doing. I was getting so angry. Even with Chu Zhao, even though I liked her because this story got so bad, it quite literally deleted one of its supposed main characters. The only people I was seeing Chu Zhao with were support characters that I barely knew, and that's getting back to, other characters that I liked. In Ashes to Crown, there were hardly any. Because there was only basically those two other support characters, her father and that general dude. That's practically the only ones I actually got to know. The other, her cousin girl, she was such a weirdly random support character that they popped her in there in times. And, here's the conflicting thing. You have to spend enough time with the support characters to care about them. Otherwise, I'm like, who are you? I don't even barely recognize you because the last time I saw you was so long ago that I don't care. Go away. But then you also have the overbalance of now I see you so often that you're stealing all the screen time from the main characters. It's such a weird balance. I know I sound like I'm contradicting myself, but come on, there is a balance, okay? I really liked her sisters in Blossom. I really liked them. They did that one really well. I don't know why Ashes to Crown failed. But I don't care, and it was the bad guys. The bad guys were the only people that Chu Zhao was talking to anymore. Even the support characters pretty much vanished. And then there was one point where, I'm thinking of other stuff. I care about the character that got deleted, Zhou. What is happening with him? But no, instead we have to have Chu Zhao reading this letter from her cousin. I don't care. That's all we're seeing is to support characters or bad guys. And I'm like, I cannot enjoy any scene that she is in because I do not care about, or I absolutely hate the characters she's talking to. I am so uncomfortable and so aggravated and so upset. This is horrendous. The bad guys, as if I wasn't seeing them enough on their own because I was constantly following every single one of them home to listen to them talk to servants, to figments of their own imaginations that was never explained, or even to each other because I get to also follow one while he goes over to the house of the others for a visit. Dominated. The bad guys dominated the screen. I'm not kidding you. They dominated it. They dominated this whole story. They just would not go away. Every minute that they weren't on screen was there was hardly any of it. Especially in the second half. There was hardly any of it. They dominated it. And because of all of that, I have no words left. So I'm moving on. I was so angry. I was downright furious. I could not let that go. It destroyed the story for me. I don't want to watch the story through the bad guy's eyes. I want to be with my main characters. My main characters are supposed to be my main characters. They're the ones I care about. Would you... I said I had no words left and I was moving on. I really, really did like Chu Zhao, and I absolutely adored Zhou, and I already kind of went over why I adored Zhou. But whatever, let's just drop him off a cliff and main character. Yeah, sure. Now back to the two things that I appreciated and absolutely loved about Blossom to wrap up this video on a positive note. The one thing that I appreciated was the support from without versus the desires from within. This drama had to have been doing this on purpose, and I mean if the drama was trying to say it was specifically because it was Zhou versus other people explaining why some of it worked and some of it didn't, I would 100% disagree with that. But if it's what humans are like without support, left up to their own desire, or pushed into places where they feel like they have no other choices, versus what people are like when others intervene to aid, assist, guide, support, etc., then it becomes quite an interesting and solidly done story to watch unfold. You know the age-old thing that women especially love to do where we're like, I can fix him! Yeah, well, in Blossom, we had some very interesting comparisons between at least 6 characters that I can think of where the outcome was either entirely different from the first time to the second time around, or very, very similar when you compare the first time and the second time. And why is what I'm getting at right now, and what this drama seemed to be highlighting. Because, I mean, like, I can fix him. That's not what it's about. That is not what it's about. A person cannot fix another person. Watch the drama. Pay attention to this. The personalities, the desires and goals, and how those and the outside forces interact with each other. And it really is interesting to observe and think about the results in each case. And it's because of all of this that I can say that, well, there are characters that I entirely skipped, not just fast watched, when they were being focused on. Well, in a big sense, I really did feel like they were making the story drag and therefore were not necessary. Some of it I also recognize as just me not caring, and the truth is that they did have a point and were something with a contributing value to the story after all. Thus making Blossom a little more complicated, and I was a little more bored and annoyed feeling with the dragging rather than me actually downright hating it and being absolutely furious like I was with the second half of Ashes to Crown. The last thing overall, but specifically about Blossom, is the character Jiang. I was definitely trying hard not to love this character purely because Xia Zhi Guang was playing him. But the minute you hear his voice say quack and the doctor goes, "Who are you calling quack?" To which Jiang replies, "Whoever responds, quack, quack, quack." Okay, I'm a goner. I love this guy. Oh my gosh, I laughed so hard. I could probably say a lot, but overall I just want to pinpoint one specific thing that gave Blossom at least 1 star all by itself. And that is Jiang's growing feelings for Zhou. Basically, this drama does not have a love triangle. But near the start, oops, no, arg. This guy comes into the story and you think there will be, but no, biggest sigh of relief ever. That whole thing was dealt with so well. I mean, legitimately so well. I was mad at him when he just up and declares something that gets him in huge trouble when he didn't even know what was going on. But overall, I guess I see why he felt like he had to, so fine. But ultimately, it's because of everything around him and Zhou is dealt with so well and concluded so satisfactorily that I honestly almost forgot he existed. And that's a good thing! So back to Jiang. Blossom does not have a love triangle. But it also kind of does. Because in the growth of Jiang, he goes from a guy that apparently literally doesn't feel emotions like that to someone that calls Zhou his bosom friend because she's that good of a friend to him, someone that understands him like no one else does, to someone that he actually starts having a crush on. But he is also someone that truly does care about her, and he respects her decisions, and he puts that first. Not his own desires, but hers, and he does it in a healthy and good way. That whole scene where her life is on the line, and both he and Songmo end up coming to rescue her, but Songmo physically reaches her before Jiang does, and Jiang walks up close enough to see her and Songmo hugging. What does Jiang do? He looks down at his injury, the bloody sword that he, of all people, is carrying. Yes, that's significant. And all of that matters. But Zhou matters more. Jiang smiles and walks away, and Zhou never even knows he was there. I mean, quite honestly, I felt a little tear when I saw that, mostly from the amount of respect I had for him. To sum up my long-winded explanation, Jiang is what I've always been asking for in all of these dramas. All these stupid love triangles where supposedly both guys really do love the girl. And I'm screaming the whole time because yes, one of them does, but the other one is a self-centered, obsessed freak of a jerk who would never harm the girl, but of course bruising the girl's wrist as he grabs it so hard, or emotionally downright abusing her because of what he does to the guy she loves in order to force her away from him, or to her family, or even to her, etc., 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 with all the different tricks they regularly do, and you know what I'm talking about. And yet everyone in the drama, including the other guy, is telling me, no, this is real love. He's just making some mistakes along the way, 'cause it's hard when you're sad, you know? But Jiang is not that at all. Not even remotely. Even when he did something that made Dou so mad at him, she physically pushes him out of the room, accidentally breaking something important along the way, telling him to go away and never come back. Later in the story, when they see each other again, because of course they do, I'm like, oh my heart, oh my gosh, you two, you really are the most genuine friends on the planet. And this is what it looks like. This is what it really looks like when you fight because of something important, but later on, what else can you do but make up? What else can you do but talk about it and reorientate boundaries and make up and keep caring about each other, because in truth you never stopped. And that's why you fought to begin with. It was so cool. I'm telling you, it really was so cool. These two. And even way later, the whole huge betrayal that was like a sword in the heart, the whole way Dou handled that entire scene, that right there was one of the examples of why I continued to like her from start to finish. Seriously. If you know what scene I'm talking about, then you know. If you don't, I can't say more because it's a huge spoiler. Okay, so that's the end of my script. And I'm not sure what else to say without talking for another like hour or 2 or 3 hours. Both of these dramas were really good. They had some amazing things about them. They had some epic things about them. I'm positive there's more I could say because there really was more. Good things, not bad things. I mean, there's probably more bad things too, but you know what I mean. So, yeah. I would highly recommend going and watching both of these dramas, even though I was so mad, so mad at Ashes to Crown and very disappointed with the part of Blossom. Blossom should have been something like 10 episodes shorter. Ashes to Crown was a really good length. It really was. That was a good length. It's just the focus was in completely the wrong spot and it made me furious, which I've already said. So, that is it. I don't know if you watched all the way through to the end or not. Have you seen either of these dramas? Did you enjoy them? Do you plan on watching them? Let me know what you think in the comments below and like the video if you had any semblance of fun while watching it, or appreciated anything I said, or whatever. Bye, and thanks for watching.